I wouldn't say lucky, but I'm lucky that I was rated 100% almost 50 years ago. But mine was not from cancers; it was from gunshot and explosion wounds. You know, I almost disintegrated my ass. So I wouldn't say I lucked out having that. I'm glad I did because now, I've got all this money. I'm set for the rest of my life until I die. But
How many times have you been wounded, MadDog?
6 times. I got a whole bunch of Purple Hearts, but I've been shot. I've been blown up. Oh God, I've had grenade shrapnel in my left arm. I got a Purple Heart, but I can't even see where the scars at anymore now. Well, I got so many scars on me anyway. But my medic caught me trying to chew the metal out like a dog. I was going. He said, "What are you doing, Sarge?" I said, "There's a shrapnel arm." He said, "No, you don't chew the metal out." He opened up my arm and pulled a piece of metal out and put a stitch or two, and I just stayed in the field. And I told you about how I got screwed out of this last Purple Heart, didn't I? When I got shot in the head?
No.
I sent all the paperwork to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I don't draw any more money for it. I don't get any more prestige from another Purple Heart, but it was one that I should have got, which I never got. My medic, John Beaumonte, who lives in Missouri, the one that came here, the one I call Tripwire, when he was here for our little reunion several years ago, he wanted to know. He said, "Sarge, did you ever get a Purple Heart for that head wound?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I did all the paperwork." And I said, "All your paperwork was disintegrated." Because when he got hit in that tripwire, I mean, there was stuff scattered everywhere. His medical bag disintegrated. There wasn't much to it. But I took a headshot. And I had a bullet go through my helmet and spun around. And well, you can't, well, if I were like you could see my scar. But there is a scar up there where the bullet went up there.
Yeah.
And my medic, Beaumonte, patched me up. And he was fixing to call a dust off. And this was during the Tet Offensive. And I said, no, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to leave the field. I said, I'm the senior sergeant here. I'm the one with the most experience. I'm the one that's keeping everybody alive. I'm not leaving my platoon. I'm staying here and helping you people. Now, how many people would do that? Most of them would have been put on dust off and taken back, but he patched me up, and I just stayed with my damn platoon. Well, the next day, Beaumont caught the tripwire, and I mean, it like to blew his arm off. I mean, he was in bad shape. And if I had to, I'm over there looking around on the ground to find a good tourniquet because his stuff is scattered everywhere. So anyway, I got the tourniquet on his arm, treated him, and got him on a flight out of there. Well, I stayed in the field. I just had a bandage on my head where I got shot in the head. So anyway, like I say, when Beaumont came and he wanted to know, said, "Did you ever get your Purple Heart?" I said, "No, I never got one." He said, "Well, I filled out paperwork." I said, "All the paperwork disintegrated with your bag." So when he got back home, he wrote out a nice letter. I mean, I've still got a copy of it somewhere, where he said step by step everything that he did, where he treated me in the field, and I refused to be taken out and everything. And so, like I say, after he got blown up, I was still out there for several more days, and finally I just took the bandage off, scabbing up and everything anyway. So, like I said, I never thought anything about it again, but I should have got a Purple Heart for that. So anyway, Beaumont did all this thing. He took it to the state, and he lives in Missouri, had it notarized and all this stuff, said this is what it's done. Well, I turned this into the awards department at the Veterans Administration, or the VA, or the Army, or whatever, through Marjorie Taylor Greene. I got a response back that says, "Well, you weren't treated by a doctor." And I went, "I wasn't treated by a doctor the first Purple Heart I got. I was treated by a medic." Because medic, what he does is he writes out he writes on a card what he's done to treat you. Because, I mean, I had a piece of shrapnel in my arm. I'm not going to be taken out of the field for a doctor just for I got a piece of shrapnel in my arm.
That must be one of the kids that works for her in the form letter because I don't know the lady, but I would have to think that if she knew that, and maybe folks can help us out. Maybe let's write Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'll try to find her email address and put it on here, and tell them MadDog needs his award.
But
his Purple Heart.
It would have been nice if I'd have got that, because I don't draw any more money for it. I draw my disability from all.
But you earned it.
But it would have been nice to leave it to my son. Say, "Hey,
sure,
here's another Purple Heart."
Yeah. So, and when we were talking earlier about saving stories and being stewards, he's got 6 of 7 stories. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of other stories, but you know where I'm getting at.
Oh yeah.
You know, well, he's got 7 stories, but only he's got 6 Purple Hearts, and your grandkids, your great grandkids, you know, for that matter, but my grandkids are going to know about you. You know, so my kids do, my grandkids are going to. You know,
but it seemed like I was getting hit all the time anyway. Of course, when you stand 6'1" in the jungle, everybody's going to fire at you. Because I was about the tallest one in the platoon anyway, so everybody was firing at me half the time.
Yeah.
Plus, I led from the front. I'm always out there in front of my people and trying to protect them as a platoon sergeant, keep them alive. But no, I wasn't going to be taken out of the field just for a head wound.
Yeah.
I'm not that big of a wimp. I mean, it hurt a little bit. I did have a headache. And luckily, it, spun around, went through the side of the helmet and everything. But we got the sniper. We did kill him, so.
Wow. But and you were a sniper, you said earlier.
I've done some sniping work, but
okay.
I was not a sniper itself. But I went out on a couple of night missions because I was a good shot, and they needed volunteers that would go out. And
okay.
we'd take the night vision when the starlight scopes, when we'd set up at night, cover river crossings, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So
you just have a natural ability to sit still then?
I can sit still for hours.
I'm fidgety, man. I can't do it.
I don't get nervous. I'm not afraid of the dark. There's no ghosts or monsters in the dark. I've never been afraid of the dark.
You know, I'll have to say, in the 15 years that I've known you now,
yeah,
I've never known but 2 emotions out of you. I'm just talking about in your talking, in your speaking. I've never seen you get, well, was that one time I saw you get fired up. But very rarely do you lose your evenness, you know. And of course, the other one is the sad that I hear in your voice sometimes, you know.
When you lose control, you don't think clearly.
Yeah.
You've got to keep your mind focused on what you have to do, and that's why I don't get upset like a lot of other people do. I guess some people would say it's cold-blooded, but I'm not cold-blooded. But I'm far from that.
No, but you're military, you're law enforcement. You know, go to all those things. I mean,
the old saying, keep your head when everybody else around is losing theirs, that's exactly what it does. And as a platoon sergeant in Vietnam, I had to keep my head. Otherwise, because panic is contagious. You go into a panic, then the rest of the platoon goes into a panic.
Sure.
So they look at you and go, well, he's got everything under control. We're safe.
Why does weakness travel faster than courage?
It does. Because most people tend to be weak. They got the strength in them, but they just don't have the internal fortitude to weed it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been really afraid of dying. I mean, nobody lives forever. I mean, the Native Americans used to say it's a good day to die, And like I say, I don't know if I'd want to live forever anyway. Why would you want to live forever? All your friends would be dead, the people that you knew and everything. You had to make new friends and new friends and new friends. Why continue on? We all die. It's just a matter of when. And like I say, I've never been afraid of dying. It's a natural process of life.
And I've never known you to be a loose cannon either. Like, so when I say that, I've never seen you go in and start any crap because I'm MadDog. No.
Well, I got stuck with that name. I bit a guy one time, but that was.
Well, I was told not to ask about that, so I never have. But hey, you opened the can.
We'll talk about that at another time. But I did bite a guy. It seemed a thing to do with the time. It was a DUI arrest.
So there's the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
There's the cliffhanger to open up, and the next episode with the next cliffhanger on how MadDog got his name.
Well, I bit a guy one time. He was drunk, and we were fighting, rolling on the ground. I was afraid he was going to get my weapon. There was no backup coming. I'm all by myself, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere at 2 a.m, and this guy's big. He's not feeling any pain at all, and I'm getting weaker, and he's getting stronger because he's intoxicated. I finally had enough. I bit him. I bit him in the throat. He was ready to give up at that point. And then when I come back down to the police department, they had taken him to the hospital. He had to get some stitches where I bit him. We were rolling on the ground in the middle of the road, the highway. And I got down to the police department, and they were all howling, and here comes the mad dog. And they put dog cookies on my desk, and I went, give him the old one-finger salute, and it stuck. And then from then on, everybody was mad dog, mad dog, mad dog. Finally, I just said, I guess I'll accept it. And I used to be post commander of BFW. And when they were nominating me for be the post commander, they said, we'd like to nominate Robert Pilcher post commander. And everybody just looked at each other and not a word. And then they said, oh, we'd like to nominate MadDog for post commander. Everybody raised their hand. We vote for MadDog. And I looked at it and said, you SOBs don't even know my real name. Thanks. Nobody knows who I am.
Plausible deniability.
It's MadDog. So I just learned to accept it.
Sure.
Know. And even my late wife, bless her heart, who I really miss, she used to call me MadDog too.
Yeah.
And when I go in the convenience store down the road from me all the time, it's really funny because the people from India are down there. And they're real nice people that run it, the Patels. And when I come in to get my coffee, they say, good morning, Mr. MadDog, which makes everybody in line turn around and go, oh, my God, Mr. MadDog? And when I go to the Waffle House in the mornings, it's hilarious because everybody yells, good morning, MadDog. It's even the customers are starting to do it now.
Yeah.
When I go back here and get my table, get my cup of coffee at the Waffle House. So,
what time do you get up there in the mornings?
Some mornings it's about 8 o'clock, and then some mornings I'll wait till the crowd kind of gets out, and I'll go up here about 10:30. Depends on how busy they are.
Okay, see, I just imagine that like you get up right before and you shake the rooster and tell them to go, and then you're up there like at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
that's what I figured.
Past 6 o'clock, I've overslept. I'm
Sure.
just an early riser.
Sure.
But I usually get up, I'll fix a little cup of coffee, I'll get out and clean up after what the cats have made a mess or whatever, get everybody fed, take good care of them. Then I'll take a shower, and I shave every day, no matter what.
Yeah.
Some of us shave anyway. But no,
I shave every day now.
But I shave every day. I just have a way of doing it. I have to get in the shower because I hate, after Vietnam in the Mekong Delta, slogging through swamps and jungles and staying filthy and smelly and dirty. I just don't feel comfortable anymore like that. So I have to get up and take a shower every day. Yeah. Whether I'm going to stay home in the house or not, if I'm not even going to go anywhere, I'll take a shower and shave and clean up because I just feel better.
Yeah, I agree, man. Cleanliness is next to godliness, right?
It is. And I just don't like being dirty anymore because I stayed dirty so many times.
That's right.
Stayed dirty in Germany when I was in the field because we were always on maneuvers out there in the old 3rd Infantry Division. Stayed dirty in the 9th Division in the Mekong Delta. So I just like staying clean and wearing clean clothes for a change.
Sure.
Yeah.
And your language is always clean too. I very rarely do I hear you.
I try to not use profanity because sometimes it is a crutch for what they say, a crutch for a weak mind. Everybody doesn't have to use MF or other words or whatever. They don't have to say that.
No.
And it's nice that people can still use the English language to communicate with.
Yeah. I'm not that guy yet. But you make me want to be a better man, MadDog. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes if I use profanity, you'll hear a word come out that says, gosh darn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try not to use the profanity. Sometimes it will come out a little bit. I mean, that's from my Army days when you had to bang a helmet into somebody's head to make them understand what they're supposed to do.
Sure. Clang, clang.
You idiot.
Yeah.
Because I remember one time I was in a window in my office. I was running an operations office at Fort Gordon, and I saw the drill sergeant out there with some of the recruits, and he told one of them to sling arms, and he threw his weapon, and the sergeant went over and beat him in the head with his helmet. I don't think sling arms means throw your weapon away. But that's a true story. I like fell out of my chair watching that one.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, and I want to try to land this plane.
Yeah.
The not the organization, but the meeting, the lunch that you go to on Wednesdays. Do y'all ever get new Like, are there new faces, or is it the same group of guys?
No, there's new ones that come in.
Okay.
In fact, we had a new guy come in today. In fact, we met another new guy. He couldn't make the meeting because he had to do something else, but he did stop by before the meeting and introduced himself. And I think he's going to be back too.
Okay. And these are all, well, explain what to me, refresh it.
We've got one Korean War veteran, a large percentage of them are Vietnam veterans, and we've got a lot of them, they're coming in the younger groups now from the Gulf War, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and all that. Not Iran, but Iraq, rather. So they're starting to come in, too. They've got post-traumatic stress from what they went through.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but you can go to all the doctors you want for post-traumatic stress. They're not going to really help you as much as talking to another veteran. Because unless that psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever has ever been in combat, he'll never fully understand what that individual went through. There's no way. He hasn't been there, he hasn't seen that, and he hasn't done that. But a lot of them, the veterans, will open up to another veteran because they know they can talk to you. They can open up, that you're not going to look down on them, that you're there to help them.
Right.
I'm helping another veteran right now. Now, he's a Gulf War veteran. And he's, I'm not even going to mention his name, but he had a little bit of a drinking problem and a little bit of violence when he was drinking too. But I told him, I said, I'll be your mentor. I said, I don't care if it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. If you want to talk to me, you call me. It's not going to bother me to be awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning to help somebody. I mean, I've had one of my former medics from Vietnam. He called me at about 3 o'clock in the morning one time, because he was having nightmares about what he went through. And I said, talk to me. I'll listen. And I did, because he was having severe bad dreams and everything. And he said, Sarge, he said, I really appreciate you being there for me.
Yeah.
I said, that's what we're there for. We're there for each other.
Yeah. Saw a little saying there, wake me up so you can get some sleep.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'll help any veteran that's got a problem, because I've seen what's happened to them. I've seen the suicides. I've seen the drinking, the drug abuse, the many divorces, and what they're going through. They've been through stuff that nobody can conceive in their actual mind. You can watch all the war movies you want.
Yeah.
It's not the same as when you're there and you smell that burnt cordite, and you smell the stench of death. And you see the bodies laying around you, and you see what's happened, the blood, the gore, and it affects you. And some of us can handle it better than others. In a way, I was kind of lucky because I went in before the Cuban Missile Crisis in '62. So I'd been in the service quite a while before I got over there to Vietnam. So in a way, even though I had not been in combat until I got to Vietnam, I had been in combat units in Germany and other places like that. And I'd seen my share, and I knew what was going on. And plus, I'd matured a little bit more. But in Vietnam, you were taking young draftees who were 18, 19, 20 years old, and they'd be at home, and then 16 weeks later, they're thrown in the middle of a battle. Their minds couldn't cope with it. It was just too much for them. And luckily, I had a good platoon. They listened to me, and we did all right. Of course, everybody in my platoon pretty much got a medal or two, but just about every one of them got a Purple Heart. Everybody was getting shot up down there in the Mekong Delta, especially during the Tet Offensive, which was really bad.
But they came home.
Most of them did.
Yeah.
But there are 11 people. There's 11 names on the wall that came out of my company. One of them is named Faust. If they go on the wall, he's a Medal of Honor winner.
Faust.
He threw himself on a grenade to save his people, or save other people in his unit.
Wow.
So I take
lay your life down for a friend.
So I've been to the wall. Did I tell you about the time I went to the wall?
No.
You remember Sandman?
Yes.
Sandman, I had never been to the wall. And I wanted to go, but it just bothered me to go. So one weekend, Sandman said, let's drive up there. And we stopped off at one of the motorcycle chapters in West Virginia. You know, they put a little party together for us and fed us and took care of us. Well, we got up there Saturday morning at the wall, and when I walked up there, I mean, Sandman almost had to hold me up I like to collapse when I looked up there and I saw 52,000 names on that wall, and I knew so many of them. It almost broke me. I almost couldn't make it over to the wall. And I had carried a little alcohol flask, and I had 3 cups, and the flask was full of bourbon, and I had a little bell. That's kind of an old Buddhist tradition, a bell. You read the name of the dead, you ring the bell, and from then on, when somebody rings the bell, the dead know they have not been forgotten. So Sandman stood off to the side, and I read the full name, and the date they were killed in Vietnam. And as I read each name of my people that were killed, Sandman rang the bell. So 11 times. Then we knelt at the wall, and I took the 3 little metal cups, and I filled each one of them full of bourbon. And Sandman and I toasted each other on the wall, and then I poured the 3rd cup on the wall. I was having a drink with my men.
Sure.
The ones that I'd lost. And I noticed when Sandman and I stood up, it was extremely quiet, which on a Saturday at the wall up there in Washington, D.C. is pretty well crowded. And we stood up and turned around, and there was about 300 people. At least 300 people standing behind us. In silence. Listening to what we were doing. But that was one of the most emotional days of my life, to go up there and do that, read the names of the dead, and then turn around and see almost 300 people standing there.
Wow.
And all of them wanted to come over and shake our hands and pat us on the back and all that. And we did, and we kind of walked on. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got up there. Because when I was post commander of the VFW down here, we had the traveling wall, which is that little thing they set up and everything else. When they brought it to my post, I couldn't go out there. I could not go out there and look at that wall. So that I never got a chance to, even on the traveling wall, I never got to go out there. I just could not look at those names until I finally went to the wall in D.C. and saw all those names. But that's how much it affected me.
Wow, that's powerful, brother. Thank you for sharing that with me.
But I'm glad Sandman talked me into doing it.
Yeah.
You know, to go up there with me, because he said I'll go up there with you if you'll go. He said because like I say, when I walked up there and saw all those names on that wall, that long wall, I like to collapsed.
Yeah.
Because it brought back so many bad memories.
Yeah. Yeah. As not a veteran, just a patriot, man, I can't even fathom the thoughts, the feelings that, the experiences that you've had. And the thing that I think about a lot too is I think about, while a lot of times, I mean, all of us feel alone, but I'm sure there's a lot of times that you have felt alone, but you can go just right down the road, and if there's somebody that, with you hoping, or I know that there's always somebody that's going to give some love to MadDog, right?
Well, that's why I missed my wife. My wife understood what I'd been through because, Susie's father was a medic at Normandy in World War II. He was on the beach at Normandy. Wow. And as a medic, treating all those people. But it affected him so badly that after the Normandy invasion, he transferred into an anti-tank gun section. He said he couldn't continue on being a medic because he said he could not fathom looking at all those dead bodies and all those wounded people. He said he couldn't handle it any longer. It was just too much for him to treat all those wounded people, arms and legs and guts hanging out and everything else. It affected him that badly. And in my opinion, every medic, every combat medic that's been out there in that field under fire deserves a Congressional Medal of Honor because they're unarmed and they're not targeted by anybody else. We're one of the few nations on earth that normally, hopefully, never fire on unarmed medics, but other nations do. Yeah. But they've got to go out there without a weapon in their hands, and they got a wounded man there who's just been shot, and there's bullets flying all over the place, and that medic has got to go over there and ignore those bullets and get on his hands and knees and try to save that man's life. That takes a lot of guts.
Brother,
there's not many
it makes
people
me so nervous just
that.
Thinking and imagining that.
You can't imagine getting shot at, and you can't fire back, and you're in the open. I know one of my people one time got hit, and I had to run out in the open because my medic was busy on somebody else. I ran out in the open and grabbed the back of his gear and was dragging him, and bullets are flying all over me. I mean, I can see green tracers just flashing by me. Thank God I was not hit, but I'm thinking, my God, here I'm here dragging a guy, and I can't turn loose and shoot back. So, and that's a scary thought, is you're not allowed to return fire, or you can't return fire. But medics can. They've got to take there and take care of that man. If they can't pull that man out of fire, they've got to treat him right there with bullets whizzing all over the place.
Right. And
a lot of medics were killed on D-Day by the Germans. They shot them. The Japanese they'd kill a medic in a heartbeat during World War II.
Wow. Well, what would you say to that veteran, to that soldier who may stumble upon this and they need that little tip, that little encouragement? Maybe they feel alone. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a veteran, brother. I don't know. But what would you say to them? And then
find you another veteran. Find somebody who's been in combat. They're out there. You can find them. If you got problems, talk to them. Maybe they got a problem. Maybe you two can work it out together. You can lean on each other, because he's going to understand what you're going through. He's not going to make fun of you because you have bad dreams or whatever, and people are going to look down. Well, you weren't man enough to face the reality, or to be. People that say that have never been shot at.
No.
No. When it's one thing to get out here and practice people go out and practice on a range and think, I'm Mr. Badass, because I've shot a paper target. They have no concept of what would happen if that paper target's fired back.
Mm-hmm. And moving and hiding and rolling and sniped up. And
when the bullets start coming your way and you hear them whiz by.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. You started off. You're pretty good.
All right.
Where were we? Yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about the debate last night. That was a fantastic debate. I really enjoyed it. Normally when some of these debates come up, I usually, after about 30 minutes, I get bored and I turn the station. But last night was well worth watching.
It was.
Vance had all his ducks in a row. It was not a debate. It was a massacre. And one thing that just totally shocked me, because the ones that put on the debate were all left wing. I mean, it was very obvious. The media wasn't like Fox News or anything like that, and the two ladies were obviously in support of the left. But when one actually fact checked Waltz for being in China on Tiananmen Square when they were having the revolution or whatever and the shootings on it, he wasn't in China. And he finally had to admit it on live TV that he lied about it. And he was very frustrated about that.
Unfortunately, though, and wording is, I believe that wording is, point is, he never said that he didn't tell the truth.
No.
He said everything other than, and it would have been easier if that man would have just said, you know what?
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there. I for whatever reason, I told you a lie. Sorry, my bad. But at least now I'm telling you the truth. I'm sorry.
So now there'll always be that doubt in your mind. Is he lying now? Or was he lying then? Or is he lying in the future? Which we pretty well much know the obvious truth on that.
Sure.
But Vance did a very good job of presenting his platform and what he stands for. And I think the man has got a fantastic career ahead of him. And if he gets elected, or he and Trump get elected, and Trump works with this man and he sees what Trump can accomplish and he follows some of these same platforms, in 4 more years, that could be our next new president also.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, too, in the same thing, if he goes to school on the mistakes.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to be outspoken about it, but he can be in there learning and saying, well, this isn't right, Yeah, I think it's all. I honestly believe that President Trump set us up for the next 12 years.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Last night it was kind of like Abraham Lincoln debating Elmer Fudd.
It was. I'm just so torn up about this Tim Walz. I mean Tim Walz. I stand by that everybody has a place on this earth. But just because you got a place on this earth doesn't mean you got to be up in everybody's business, and I don't think he's ready. I think he's a sissy. I don't think he's got the heart for it. He damn sure couldn't step in as second in command to be. Could you imagine? Could you imagine him sitting across the table from any? Just find the easiest of the world leaders. Could you imagine him sitting in front of him?
You're going to make me cry. No, I can't. I cannot do that. I cannot imagine any of these cretins. I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words on some of these people running for office today. Well, Kamala must be furious with him today, since he got on live TV and agreed with Vance on a majority of the programs that he was trying to put out there.
And I will say this about him. I got to respect the fact that no matter what side you're on, that when you can acknowledge the other person's right.
And they were right. And he knew it.
Yeah.
And he couldn't dispute it because what Vance was saying was true. The economy under Trump, they keep asking, was everything better under Trump? Well, yes, it was. We didn't have wars everywhere. We didn't have high inflation. The gas was reasonably, as compared to reasonable as compared to what it is today.
Sure.
People could go to the grocery store, and today you can spend $100 and you come out with one little small bag in your hand at a grocery store. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. And gas, well, of course, gas is coming down a little bit now. Oh, right before the election. Oh, let's go ahead and buy off the people. And we know what that's all about. At least I did hear Governor Kemp is going to relax the taxes. Have you heard that?
I've not, but I would expect
he was talking about dropping it maybe 30 cents, drop some of the taxes. And one of the main reasons why is not because of the election, it was because of the hurricane, because a lot of people in the eastern state of Georgia, which is along North Carolina and North Georgia, some of them are still running generators because they don't have the power yet and everything had been turned on. So a lot of people are having to buy gas to keep their household going, keep their refrigerators running and electricity until everything gets repaired. So that's a good thing that he's doing that.
Yeah.
But he's not doing it to buy the votes. He's doing it to help the people.
For Kemp, I mean, it wouldn't help him out personally. No. He's not up for another.
No, he's not.
He can't run again.
Even animals put the smartest of the group in charge of the pack. They don't take the dumbest animal and let them lead it.
No. I was thinking about that this morning. I was sitting on the back porch drinking coffee, and some deer, ran by. I put the corn out there, so I like to watch them. And I started thinking about, the way the animals are each other. I think we had talked about, before during the Trump assassination attempt and when they shot him, the reaction of the folks, one. Not everybody went down, but most everybody went down. But when we looked up, they did what a few people did. And if you watch deer, I don't want to rehash all that. Point being is they can't even go down or keep. They want to change the basic fundamentals of the building blocks of nature. That's not what you do. You grow on what nature gave you. You continue to build. They're just throwing stones. What's your take?
This election in November will decide. It will be history changing. If the left wins, America as we know it will be totally gone. Because she is so far left of even Biden. My God, what are they going to do? We can't afford another 4 years of what we just went through. People are losing their homes. Cars are being repossessed. Criminals are running rampant. It's just unreal. And defund the police? There's not even enough police on the streets now to protect you. And if you buy a gun and you're in your own home and these animals break in and threaten to kill you, slaughter your wife, or eat your cats and dogs or whatever, if you try to defend yourself, you're the guilty one. What has happened to us in this nation that honest, hard-working people are the guilty ones? I mean, they talk about gun control. They don't ever talk about criminal control. They never talk about all these people running around shooting up the streets and doing drive-bys or making these Glock switches and using them submachine guns and hosing. Look what happened. You saw one in the news in Birmingham. Well, they hosed down a crowd in Birmingham. This was just recently. It was like a street party over there. And they opened up literally with automatic fire. What has happened to our nation? When I was growing up, none of this happened. I mean, back in my day, which means I'm pretty old to begin with, you could take a gun to school and do for show and tell. I remember in elementary school, one of the kids brought a BB gun to show off what he got for Christmas. A BB gun. If you brought a BB gun on a school property today, you'd be arrested. It would be they'd shut down the school. I remember when high school students in their pickup trucks back in the late 50s and early 60s had gun racks. They had shotguns and rifles. It's just unreal. But today, we don't pay the teachers enough. And the teachers' union, they need to do away with some. I agree with some things in unions, but other unions, it's not worth it. We need to start over. We need to restart America. Just literally restart this nation. And I think that's going to happen in November, a restart. If it doesn't happen, it's over. There's no other place to go. There is no other country on the face of this planet that has the freedoms that we have in this nation. And it's going to collapse. The only thing that's really kept the world at bay, and I'll argue this point with anybody, has been the strength of America and our armed forces. How many times have our armed forces stepped in and stopped these little banana republic wars and saved the nation and saved the world?
I would offer the question, how many times today has the United States military stopped something? Or has the United States, whether it be our three-letter agencies who are too busy screwing us to...
Oh, the armed forces, well, our nation hadn't stopped anything lately. In fact, we armed the Taliban and the Afghans with how many hundreds, well, thousands of vehicles from what I understand, thousands of weapons, aircraft, explosives, missiles. We armed them when we walked out and left all that stuff. If we couldn't take it with us, we should have blown it all up or burned it.
Isn't that what was typically always done?
In the past, we didn't leave all the stuff behind.
You destroy it. I mean,
destroyed it so they can't use it. You don't leave all this stuff behind.
Is it just myth that there was certain buttons that you could put that would cause a self-destruction or?
No, there's no buttons on any of the equipment that would cause self-destruction. Because with some of the people that we've got in the military nowadays, they'd push the button, think that they were ordering pizza, and blow the thing up to begin with.
Sure, yeah, and that was a stupid question.
And that kind of worries me in the Oval Office. Is he going to push the red button ordering from Domino's? And there goes the world. I mean,
who would you be referring to there?
Who am I referring to? Oh, I can't refer to anybody because actually there is nobody running the nation right now.
And I think that's where I was going with that.
There's nobody there.
When was the last time you heard from your president?
Hello, there's nobody there, nobody home. What happens if we were to attack tomorrow morning? The Russians launch some missiles, the North Koreans come across into Alaska or whatever. Who's going to be sitting there in the Oval Office and say, this is what we need to have done? We've got to do something today. There's nobody there. Mm-hmm. Who's going to open the code book, give the codes out if we have to fire the missiles back and to save what's left of this nation? There's nobody there to do it.
So what number president were we on your first election?
And my first election I voted for was John F. Kennedy.
All right. So he was
a Democrat.
No, number.
Oh, good God. That was I can't even remember what number he was now that we've had so many presidents since then, but
I don't remember. But anyway,
yeah.
Out of the ones that you know, when did you ever question where your president was? When did you ever question that if something happened that soon after the catastrophe or whatever, that you were going to get a message from your commander-in-chief?
The first president that actually scared me was Jimmy Carter. Carter was a nice guy. He's a nice Christian, nice person, but
Sure.
he was weak. His policies were weak, and that's when we started going downhill. We needed a strong person. That's why he only served one term. And everybody knew he was weak. I mean, look, when we tried to rescue the hostages in Tehran that were taken, the helicopters literally just fell apart. You know why? Everybody forgot to put the sand filters in the helicopters. So all the sand got into the engine, and there goes your rescue mission. Nobody thought about that. If you're going to do a mission, that's one of the first things you should do is take your little list and go from A to Z and say, this has to be done before we start this mission. We just don't start the mission by us going in a helicopter, then get them. No.
The Wright brothers kind of proved that you don't go off in the air with it. Come on.
Well, they got a few feet, which is better than the guy that supposedly in the legend of attaching the feathers with wax to his back and sailed into the sun and they melted and fell to the earth, the Greek,
Yeah.
But I don't know what has happened to this nation. We have no leadership anymore, and then you had General Miley, which I never respected, when he was when Trump was president. All he did was criticize his commander-in-chief continually. You don't do that. You follow the orders. That's what you're there for. I mean, you can have your own opinions. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but you don't Monday morning quarterback your commander-in-chief, and that's what he was doing continually. They were all cutting that man's throat. Trump got a lot accomplished in 4 years with everybody trying to cut his throat and stab him in the back. Can you imagine if he had the support of Congress and the military and the CIA and the FBI and the Democrats, what he could have accomplished in 4 years?
Can you imagine what he could have accomplished in that 4 years
Yeah.
if everybody just would have done their job for the reason why they were put in that job and appointed to that job was for the American people, not one of them did it. Well,
nowadays it's not for the American people, it's for what they can get out of it. Everybody's on their own on here. And that scares me. And
that was what I really, really loved. One of the things that I really, really loved about being in a club was the amount of charity that we did. And we were going on rides all the time, raising money. And you look at 25 bucks a rider.
Yeah.
Sometimes 30 plus 5 or 10 for two up.
For a passenger, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There was quite a bit of money raised.
That's quite yeah.
And then sometimes the motorcycle was donated, and they sold raffle tickets and to raise money on that. So it's quite a bit to come out of these people's pockets, especially when some of these people can't afford it. But they did it anyway.
And I was only in the inner workings of two different chapters. Mm-hmm. And I can 100% say that any money those two chapters raised, 100% of the proceeds went out.
It did.
And I know with the one, my home, I watched several to where we would give money at the table to buy shirts,
right,
buy supplies, and then we would make a motion that all that was just donation. Mm-hmm. So we wouldn't even recoup chapter funds because there was no chapter funds because that was coming from the men around the table, And I don't want to pat anybody on the back or anything, but that's the way it should be. Again, we take care of ourselves. And what was all that hubbub about the Hells Angels going to go roll into Colorado and save America?
Run out the illegal gangs, the Venezuelan.
All due respect to the Hells Angels, and they do deserve respect. Last time I checked, any club, much less a 1% club, anything outside of their family, they're against self-preservation, man.
That's it.
Why am I going to go over there and play in your fire when I got my own burning over here,
Right.
That was 2 weeks ago news, and this news cycle changes so much.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything else about that either. Looks like in Chicago, the local gangs are going to handle the illegal gangs. Turf wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the same thing can happen in New York since what's his name got indicted. How about that?
Oh, God. That was funny. I have to admit, I laughed when I read that. He was going to change New York. Well, he changed it all right. He ran his slap into the ground.
Well, wasn't he behind Alvin
Bragg?
Yeah. Wasn't he behind that?
He was behind it.
Yeah, so I think kind of all that kind of needs to go by the wayside now, and everybody needs to really examine that whole situation.
Right. Now, how do you get 34 felonies out of a misdemeanor that the statute of limitation had expired, and it was technically a federal violation to begin with, which they had no right under the state law to try it? Anybody got an answer for that?
This was where I would go crickets, crickets, crickets if I had a cricket button, because there's no answer, man. There's no answer
to that.
The only answer I believe is that I hope. No, I know. I'm tired of being a doom and gloom even thinking about it. I honestly believe, and I'll even make a prediction, we ain't got nothing to worry about. We don't have anything to worry about. I believe that we're going to see a poo show for the next 30 days. But I just don't, no. I don't think it's going to be as bad as what.
If people get out and vote, and that's what they need to do, don't just sit around and think about it. Get out there. Take the time. There's a lot of men and women, veterans, that have died over the years.
Yes.
Protecting this nation so that you would have the right to vote. Because a lot of other countries, they don't have a vote. And if they do have a vote, there's only one party. And you got to vote for the one person that's running for the party.
Yeah.
In this nation, we don't have that. Thank God that we still got the vote. That they haven't taken that away from us yet, but I'm sure in the future it might be there. There might be the possibility.
Well, there's been the talk in the last week about, I think it just came to head a little bit more about UN, wanting that their main goal is to do away with the U.S. Constitution.
Of course, rule the world,
and
one world nation,
and put the United Nations in there. What's the history? Just for the folks that don't know, what's the history on that, and why is it still a thing, and why are we still in it, and why are we still allowing it on our soil?
Well, the United Nations came about after World War II because essentially we had it to a degree before World War II, but it was called League of Nations, but it was a total flop. It just didn't work. So I don't really see a whole lot of difference between the League of Nations, what they called it then, and the United Nations today. They literally rule America. We don't have much of a vote, but the thing about it is almost 80% of the money comes from the United States. And where's the United Nations building at? In America, because it would be probably looted and burned if it was in another nation.
Sure.
So they have it here because they have the freedom over here. And then they come here and then they whine and moan and complain about all of America, America this, America that. But yet, they want to be just like us.
Why are people risking death to get into this country? Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
And then once they get here, all they want to do is change the whole reason why they came.
They want to turn it into what they just left, which would make a bit of sense.
Yeah, because they don't feel comfortable.
Well,
piss poor planning prevents proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
There you go.
And there was no planning done on their part before they got here. But what do we expect? They're criminals in the first place by coming in here illegal. Go ahead, MadDog.
We had a border, and it was a fairly secure border. And then the loons took it over, opened the floodgates, and literally swamped the nation. I mean, it's one thing to have immigrants come in, and immigrants with a skill, and immigrants that want to work, want to bring their families. But the majority of people that swarmed that border down there, these were young males. people of military age in other countries, and we don't know what and who came in this nation. But we cannot, in 4-year period, we cannot absorb almost 20 million people. And out of that 20 million, I mean, they emptied their insane asylums, they emptied their jails, they emptied everything down there and dumped them all on us. Did you see the statistics they were talking about? 17-something thousand murderers and 14,000 rapists and 500,000 criminals are just dumped across our border.
And that's just the ones we know.
Just the ones we know. And we don't know who came from the Middle East. In fact, I was looking at something on the news the other day, and they were talking about possible terrorist cells in the United States. And as many as 300 or more thousand Hamas, ISIS here, waiting. What are they going to do? Well, we know what they're going to do and what they're waiting for. They're waiting for the signal. And when it happens, they're going to be hitting churches. They're going to be hitting supermarkets. They're going to be hitting shopping malls and all this and killing innocent people. And what do they want to do? Take away our guns. We can't defend ourselves when we are attacked. That don't make a bit of sense. Now, I believe in gun control to a degree, but I believe in gun control on criminals, not honest working people. If a man has no criminal record, then and he should be allowed to carry a weapon. If he can afford to buy himself a pistol or a rifle, a shotgun to defend his home and his family, and he's responsible with it, yes. But if a guy's got, he's been in prison half his life and a criminal record, and he's walking around with a modified Glock, with a Glock switch, using a submachine gun, shooting up the streets and drive-bys, take that away from him and put him in prison. Don't take the honest individual out here who's worked hard all his life and trying to defend his home, his family.
That'll preach right there, MadDog.
Because, if you call 911, the average time of 911, 4 to 5 minutes at the max. At the max.
That's if nobody's bleeding.
If anybody's there, or can get a car to head your way. But how long does it take to slaughter a family? If a guy breaks in your house and he's got a butcher knife, he can kill your whole family in less than 1 minute. The cops are not going to come there for that. They're going to be coming there to work a crime scene. Throw a blanket over the bodies, draw little crayon sketches around them.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for at that time. They're not going to be there to get there in time to protect your family. You've got to do that. I mean, I pack a pistol. I've got a permit. I've never been arrested. I serve my nation. Why shouldn't I be allowed to protect myself? And I will.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go. I don't flash my gun. I don't go around pointing it at people or whatever. But if somebody tries to attack me, I'm ready to use it.
Yes.
If I have to take a life in defense of my family or myself or one of my friends or whatever, I'm ready to do it.
And you're the perfect person, I think, that can take that a step further. You said a very important word. You used the word ready.
Ready.
Ready consists of a lot of things.
It does.
I would say, and I want you to carry this, but not only being able to have it, but training it, cleaning it, all that.
You need to learn to use that weapon. You need to learn trigger control. When you pull that gun out, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to use it. Don't put your finger on that trigger. Some of these weapons have got a very light touch, 2 to 3 pounds. 2 to 3 pounds sounds like a lot of weight, but it's not.
Mm-mm.
It's a simple squeeze, and you can't call that bullet back.
No.
And the bullet doesn't have a name on it. It's to whom it may concern, who's ever in front of it. So learn to handle your weapon. Learn to break it down. Learn how to go to a range, or if you got on your own property, put up a few targets and practice on that thing. Learn how to use it properly.
Yeah.
It's a tool just like anything else.
Yeah.
And don't buy a cheap Saturday night special. You're looking at a junk gun. That thing's more as dangerous to you than it is to anybody else.
Yeah.
If you got to buy something, you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive weapon out there. But a surgeon does not go to Home Depot to buy the tools that he's going to use for surgery.
No.
He goes to a specialty shop.
Another thing, too, is he doesn't go to surgery without knowing exactly what those instruments are going to do in his hand. Yeah. And, they're well prepared in their training.
And don't go around with a big cannon in a holster on your belt, trying to impress people in the open.
Strap to your
That
leg,
is
boy.
so
Get that thing way
dangerous.
down here, that long.
There was a video not too long ago where a guy was at a gas station or a convenience store, and he's standing in line, and the guy behind him grabs his gun and just jerked it slap out of his holster and used the gun to rob the convenience store. That was a YouTube video on this. This was in the news. This guy provided a weapon. Nobody knows I've got a weapon on me. My weapon is under my shirt. If they come in, they don't know if I've got a gun or not. They don't know how prepared I am.
Yeah.
So I'm not a basic target. If the criminal doesn't have a gun, it's kind of stupid to provide them with one because of your ignorance. And I see some of these people out here, and they got a gun sticking out of their back pocket. Oh God, you're begging for trouble on this. I knew a guy years ago. I guess it's been about 30 years ago, and he always carried his gun in his back pocket. And I told him, I said, you need to stop that. Somebody's going to get that gun one of these days. And he just, nobody ever get the gun away from me or whatever. And it was about 2 or 3 days later, I come up behind him. He was getting a cup of coffee at a service station. And I tapped him on his left shoulder and said, hey, how's it going? He turned around. And I said, where's your gun? And he felt back there, and his gun was gone out of his back pocket. And he was looking all over the place. And I said, here's your gun right here. Yeah. I tapped you on that left shoulder. You had your gun in your right pocket. You didn't even know I lifted it out of there. And anybody could have done that. And after that, he put his gun in a holster and tucked it up under his shirt.
And common sense tells me, too, that if I'm in public.
Yeah.
Okay, no, just say I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
If I'm good at what I do, I'm more than likely going to be looking for the armed people when I walk through that door, because I'm going to try to
be the first one you shoot.
Neutralize my
right.
Yeah.
You know they're armed.
So why am I going to wear that side cannon? Just to say, hey, because the chances are it's going to take a few seconds.
Yeah.
They've got the jump on you. Chances are.
They know you got that weapon.
They
got a weapon on you already.
And they were outside looking in. Mm-hmm. You're behind, like in a store, you're behind a wall. You're behind, some type of glass. You're seeing the reflection, I don't know. I don't get it. Poor training and cleanliness. Man, why are we going to use a rusted old tool out of our toolbox when all we had to do was the last time we fired it was wipe it down and clean it, put a little bit of oil.
Years ago when I was in law enforcement, I was a shift commander on the morning watch, and I did a firearms inspection on my people. And I looked down the barrel of one of the weapons, and there was a spider living in it with a web. And I asked him, I said, he didn't know it was in the barrel. And I said, when was the last time you cleaned this weapon? He said, I cleaned it yesterday. And I said, are you trying to tell me this spider built this entire network and been living in here? And you can see a few dead bugs all in there, too. Overnight, and he looked down the barrel, and he was embarrassed. And I said, be honest with me. Don't lie to me. When was the last time you cleaned your weapon? He said, it was about 3 months ago.
Yeah. Well, you can, at the end of the day, if you wear it in the holster, you can pull your weapon out, and chances are you're going to find some lint.
There'll be dust on it.
There's going to be, because your skin, your clothes, your fabric, it's right there. It's creating friction.
Yeah.
What happens from friction? Dust.
Dust.
On the skin.
I mean, you don't have to break the weapon down every night if you're not shooting it, but every couple of days, or at least every day, or take a swab, go down the barrel, clean the barrel, take the ammunition out, check your ammunition, make sure that it's not corroded, because I've seen people that have unloaded their mags and the rounds are green and corroded, which even makes you wonder if they'd even shoot or not.
I've got a question about ammunition.
Yeah.
Is it true that you can take bullets and drop them in vinegar, put them back in the box, and they won't fire, that they'll be useless?
Well, I'm not
sure. Or is there a chemical or something like that?
I'm not sure about vinegar, but I know WD-40 you cannot. It'll soak into the primers and it will not shoot. And I know this for a fact because about 40, my God, it has been almost 40 years ago, down in Vero Beach, Florida, there was a shootout. There was 2 armed robbers, and they were stopped by the Vero Beach Police Department. And if y'all people down there know, you looked this up 40 years ago because it made the news. These 2 officers had been cleaning their guns with WD-40, and they were not removing their ammunition. They went into the shootout, And both of them, neither when their guns fired. I'm not mistaken. I think one of the officers got hit. This was in Vero Beach, Indian River County, Florida. It made big news because everybody was saying, "Don't clean your guns with loaded ammo. Take the ammunition out, especially if you're doing WD-40. Wipe it all down." But they were spraying the guns, which is good, cleaning it up. WD-40 is not bad. People say, "Oh, you shouldn't use that on guns," but it does work. It does a good cleaning job. But just make sure you clean off all the residue afterwards. But you never spray ammunition with it because WD-40 gets into the primer, and when it gets into the primer, the gun will not fire.
No.
When you fire it. So both these officers, they learned a valuable lesson. They both lived through it, but they both could have been killed on this traffic stop on these armed robbers.
Yeah, I asked that somebody from my former life shouldn't have been carrying, and they were carrying, and we needed to do something about it. And an associate came and said, all we got to do is take his bullets and drop them in vinegar for a little while, pull them out, put them right back in, put them in his gun.
Oh, no.
And I thought, why would you do that? I mean, number one, you don't know when he's going to pull it out. What if he's being shot at? You want him to be able to fire back.
Yeah.
So I proposed back to the guy, I'm like, why don't we just go talk to him? Why don't we just go talk to him and see if we can just ask him for his weapon for a little while? Mm-hmm. Turns out that's all we had to do. We just went to him and said, "Hey, brother, this is this and this, and I think I need to collect your weapons for a little while." But you don't have to. But and he did, but no. So vinegar's not the trick, or that's never hurt him, never sabotaged.
I've never
anybody.
heard anything about the vinegar, but anything that you're going to soak it in can get inside that primer.
Sure.
Because that primer is just basically seated in there, and if you get anything that will corrode it or weaken the powder, because actually a primer is nothing more than a powder charge in a small cap, and that's what that you have to hit it and fire the primer.
Yeah. And you got two types of firing, right? Pins or
you've got hammer, and then you've got you got two different kind of weapons. You've got like a Glock. A Glock uses a what's the word for it? Not a hammer. I can't think of the word.
I'm talking about with the bullet. What is it? Rimfire.
Rimfire
and
that's
center
like a
fire,
22.
right? Yeah.
The only rimfire that we use today in the modern era, unless you got an antique weapon, are all center fire. Back in the early days, after the Civil War and out west and everything, a lot of companies were using rimfire, but 22 is about the only rimfire that you'll find on the market today, unless you've got an old antique weapon, and then sometimes you can find ammo, but hardly nobody makes it or reloads it anymore. Now it's all center fire. Striker fired. That's what I was thinking about with the Glock. The Glock is striker fired. It releases the firing pin, the spring inside, which goes forward, and the other one is a hammer fired, and that's like a revolver, or you got some semi-automatic pistols too with a hammer on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a SIG 226 is hammer fired, and a Glock is striker fired.
Okay.
All Glocks are. There's no hammer on it on the outside.
Wow.
So it's best to know all the different ones. But the only thing you got to be real careful with a striker fired, because there is a possibility if you get a hard enough drop or on the ground or where to be hit, it could release that firing pin because not much holding it in there. And of course, most of the pistols that use hammer fire today have blocks on them. There's a block that goes in front of the firing pin until the weapon's cocked and the block drops, so it'll hit the firing pin. But a lot of people don't know that. You need to study your weapon before you start carrying one. Know what it's capable of.
Yeah.
Don't just go buy a gun and go out and shoot with it and have no clue what it does or how it functions.
No, and complacency with a weapon will get you killed.
It will. A lot of people get killed with their own weapons.
Yeah.
Just a real short story on one time. I don't know if you remember at the West Side. We were all sitting over there on the front porch of the West Side one night. Everybody was outside, and I'm sitting in a chair and I'm drinking a PBR. And about maybe 300 yards up the road, somebody fired off a shot. And this is when we thought we were going to have some problems with some other groups. And everybody else hit the floor. And they looked up, and I'm still in the chair drinking my beer. And they said, "Get down, MadDog." I said, "No." I said, "The bullet went that way. It's not coming this way. I can tell by the sound."
Sure.
Everybody kind of felt foolish.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not getting on the ground. I said, they weren't shooting this way. I can tell by the sound which way that bullet's going,
Right.
if it's away from me or it's coming this way. You
Sure.
get shot at enough, you'll notice the difference in the tone. So from then on, if anybody fired a shot anywhere else, everybody kind of looked at me. If I got on the ground, everybody got on that ground, but
Sure.
I never had to. But
Just watch Mad Dog.
But that was so funny. Everybody was laying on the porch, and I'm over here still in the chair laughing, drinking a PBR. And hey, that boy, what that was.
Yeah, that must have been before my time. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember that happening. No, I don't. Well, brother, it has been a pleasure, and until next time.
God bless you, son.
God bless you, brother. Thank you so much.
And America, I love you. I really do.
Go vote.
Go vote. Vote, vote, vote. Fight, fight, fight.